Hello, welcome to the Brain Scrub, a somewhat improvised approach to mental health. My name is Glenn Sollers. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Now, before I get into the episode, just want to share some exciting news, and there's a 99% chance this is going to go forward, and that is, this is my last solo episode on the Brain Scrub. I am so happy that I've been doing this for 2 years. I have 75 episodes that I've done, and it's now time for me to move on and bring on a new co-host on the Brain Scrub. And again, stay tuned for what that's going to look like. And that is likely going to be the next episode, as I'll have this new co-host on and we'll be doing the Brain Scrub together. On that note, he and I need to meet to talk about what our own purposes are in life, and that is what today's podcast is about. There are books that I read where they are life-changing, and this book that I recently read is one of those books. It is titled The Unsold Mindset: Refining What It Means to Sell. Now, it is a sales book. However, it's much more than a sales book. Colin Coggins and Garrett Brown have done an amazing job in helping me understand what is critical when selling. And if you think about it, we're selling ourselves constantly. Our ideas, our approaches, our ways of thinking, and sometimes when people think about salespeople, they think negative thoughts, like the used car salesperson. They're going to give me something or sell me something that I really don't need. And this book takes a real opposite approach to that. And that is that through a level of authenticity, being intentional with our words, having a sense of optimism and believing in oneself and believing in what one stands for, going in with a yes type of mentality, falling in love with the people that we're dealing with, looking at them as a teammate, or you could also say a partner versus somebody I'm trying to sell to, helps transform the relationship and transcend it into something completely different. So you become, again, kind of like a partner with the people that you deal with. It takes a lot of creativity. And there's one part of their book that struck me the most, and that is around creating a sense of purpose in yourself. When I think about the world we live in right now, and what I'm hearing from a lot of organizations is that people are stressed out. There's a lot going on. And what I want, and this is part of my intention in this podcast, is for people to get up in the morning and not just go to work, do what they need to do, come home, eat dinner, watch Netflix, go to bed, repeat. Kind of like counting off the days until retirement, where it all ends. And how can we add some spice to our life, some energy, some enthusiasm through creating a strong sense of purpose in terms of why do I exist? Because there's so much going on for us to be upset about right now. There is us versus them mentalities. There's waiting for retirement. There are people out there that might be making our life difficult. There is the media, stress associated with that. Things aren't working out too well in a lot of our world right now. And the one thing I can control is me and my sense of purpose. What do I bring to this world? And that's what I want to talk about today in the episode, because I'm doing some work around this. And the process that they talk about in this book is fantastic around how to create a sense of purpose. So when I get up in the morning, I live the life that I want to live based on who I am, based on my characteristics, my lived experiences. How do I make the most of this life so at the end of the day, I can feel grateful for what I've done and the difference I've made? not only to myself, but to others, to the community, to our coworkers, to our customers, you name it, which means a level of authenticity, because it's not easy not being myself. I used to spend years wearing a mask, thinking I need to be this way, I need to show up this way, in embracing authenticity and who I really am. And sometimes we think we are a certain person, but are we really that person? Or did we learn we had to be that person in order to be accepted? Very important question, because sometimes we might be in a career that we think that is the authentic us, but is it really the authentic us? Or have I suppressed who I really am? And now it's time for me to embrace that. And especially as I move into my retirement years, hopefully when I'm 60, 65, that's going to be my retirement year, but it doesn't have to be that way. And this kind of ties into my episode that I did a couple of weeks ago, was around this need for retirement, waiting for retirement. But when retirement happens, I don't end, I continue. And if I have a sense of purpose, and if I know what that purpose is, I can keep on living that in whatever I do. And maybe I'll never retire. One of my good friends, his mom is 98 years old, and she still is a travel agent. After 98 years, loves her job. It's funny when I talk to him because she doesn't see doctors. She just lives her best life and does what she wants to do. And if I think about the world that we live in now, where everything is monitored, like in fact, the other day, because of what I heard what happened to one of my friends who had a cardiac arrest, I decided I'm going to look at my Fitbit that I have, and some of us have Apple Watches, to make sure that my heart is good. So I started wearing my Fitbit, and I even took it to bed so I can monitor my sleep, monitor, do I have any different heart concerns that I need to be aware of? And first of all, this technology that I'm wearing on my wrist is not perfect. Like today I went to the gym, I was working out, and I want to get up to my like zone 2 cardio. And for me, that's between 143 and 163 beats per minute. And the cardio equipment I'm on says that I'm there, that I'm doing it. I look at my watch, it says 105 heartbeats per minute. And I'm thinking, there's no way I only have 105 heartbeats per minute. So this watch is unreliable. Now, why do I say that? Is because every morning now, for the last week and a half, I've been looking at my sleep score to find out how am I sleeping. And I went from good when I started wearing this to now I'm at a fair mark, like 61 sleep score out of 100. So I wake up and I think I have a restful night, but I know I have vivid dreams and I have all these different things, and I've woken up a couple times and that's fine. But then my watch is telling me you didn't sleep that well. You slept for 5 hours. And I'm thinking, what? Are you kidding me? Because last night I went to bed at 9:30. I get up early because my wife does a workout at 6 a.m. in the morning. The alarm goes off at 5:45. Whoop, I'm up. So we go to bed a bit earlier for her to do this before work. And my sleep score is poor. So I'm not waking up with a lot of energy and enthusiasm when I look at my sleep score. I'm thinking, well, I should be energetic and enthusiastic because I felt like I had a great sleep. But my watch is telling me, no, Glenn, you went to bed at 12:15 and you had 5 hours and 28 minutes of sleep. And of that 5 hours and 28 minutes of sleep, you had 18 minutes of REM sleep and you had deep sleep for about 12 minutes. And why am I monitoring this? So going forward, I'm going to take this watch off when I go to bed, because then with all this monitoring going on and this self-evaluation constant, it can be overwhelming. All these metrics we need to meet versus like this 98-year-old, maybe let that all go. Not everything. I think it's important to monitor certain things for sure. But for me, maybe I need to let some things go and not overanalyze things so that I can move forward. Now, self-analysis is important, especially when it comes to creating your purpose in life. Why do we exist? So let me get right into that, because the other thing is I want to live the rest of my life on purpose and with my heart. And I want to be valued and do something of value. And I don't want to have to wait until I retire to do that. And I hear this a lot in organizations where people say, you know what, there's a lot of people retiring, and this is huge. Like, there are so many people leaving the workforce. And I believe that everybody wants to give something. They want to be recognized. They want to make a difference. And especially with the retired workforce, we can really embrace these individuals, work with them on what kind of purpose do you want to have over the next number of years? How can we leverage that with new employees coming on? How can we create a better organization by learning from you? How can you leave this company knowing that you did your best and feeling proud of your work because you embraced your purpose, your passion, your energy, your enthusiasm, your skill set, whatever it might be? This book got me to break down these certain things. And I've worked on my mission, vision, values before, but now I'm redefining it. And I'm not 100% there yet. However, what I'm hoping you can do as we go through this episode is for you to reflect on you and what is your purpose. What gets you up in the morning? What do you want to be known for? And it's funny when I did this, it's kind of like I am celebrating my life before I die. I am hearing the value I bring now versus if I were a ghost, so to speak, looking at my funeral and what people are saying about me. Wow, I would love to hear that, right? Like, what do people see in me? And this process allowed me to hear that now, which allows me to realize that I'm doing amazing work and I'm building amazing community, and my authentic way of being, my self-awareness is making a difference. And wow, like that really hit me when I did this. Like, I spoke to one person through texting, but I'll speak to them shortly. And they listed off a whole bunch of things that they value about me. And I was so touched by this. And I never realized how much of a difference I do make. And it's not about my ego or anything like that. There's a different reason why I did this and how it benefits the future I create and how I live in the present moment. Here are the steps. Step number 1 is, first of all, to look at what are your unique qualities. What are those traits that you have that make you you? And if I look at myself and I think about my history and my lifeline, my lived experiences, the traits that make me uniquely who I am are my resilience, my going after what I want, living my dreams, because I've become very independent in many respects. And that got me to where I am now, but now I'm creating codependence and working with communities. But for me, I always learned that I need to do things on my own because nobody has my back. At least that's how it felt. And people did have my back, but I never saw that. And so I decided I have to control my own life, which had its great moments because it meant that I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm not going to have excuses for not doing things. So I've been very proactive, which required positivity. It required self-awareness. It required passion. It required enthusiasm. It required me just taking some risks and doing what I should be doing. Now, part of this exercise, and I found this part one of the most valuable parts because it allowed me to really recognize who I am and see and hear about the difference I make, was to ask acquaintances, people who know you, what are your top 2 qualities that people respect in you? And this is the part, again, that was mind-blowing for me. And what I did is I created kind of like a map of everything and organized it a bit. But here's what came back in terms of what people said about me. Self-motivated. I'm passionate. I'm positive. I help others. I am super sincere. And that was a theme that came up, that I take risks, that I have this unbridled enthusiasm and kindness that creates energy in others and motivates others, that I learn, I'm curious, I live, I laugh. A big thing was integrity and curiosity, that I seek to understand more and accept and evaluate what others do and how that reflects with me. And also, somebody made a comment that I give people second chances as a result, that I don't take their actions negatively. I look at them and say, well, I wonder why they're doing what they're doing. They're doing that. That's okay. How do I adapt? Or also just resolve conflict. That was another thing that came up, was a conflict resolver, that I'm dedicated, I'm honest, that I embrace change, that I'm a great listener, that, and this was a theme, that I focus on self-improvement and what can I do? How can I adapt? I get to the point, straight shooter. I care deeply about people. I have a strong work ethic. Whew. Now, that is me. And I would even suggest that if these individuals were to say to me or ask me, Glenn, I provided you this, what do you see in me? A lot of what we see in others, we see in ourselves. So those individuals that shared with me what it is about me, I want you to reflect on what you shared about me and what you saw in me. And do you see the same thing in yourself? Because when I look at all these people that responded to me, I see the same thing in them. And what a gift for me. And I hope there's a gift for all of you as well when you do this with other people, when you go out there and you ask them, what do you see in me? Because that helped me now get back into my purpose. And it looks like my purpose is actually coming to fruition based on the feedback that I got. So here's the next part of this, is how do I enjoy expressing those qualities in my interactions with people and how I live my life? Well, hello, I'm doing a podcast on the Brain Scrub. I facilitate training for a living. I've created courses that really embrace this, that allow people to see their own power, see themselves, so they can have that intrinsic motivation to learn, to develop, to take control of their life and not have life control them. Through listening to others, through understanding we're all different, to seeing the humanism in other people. We're all just people doing the best we can. We have a certain amount of life that we're living, and hopefully we come back as something. I don't know. However, the universe will go on forever. What are you doing now to live that? To be your best self. And that's what I do through the training that I do. I love having interactions with people that are real and authentic. That's another thing that I do. I find when people are guarded or when they're not willing to open up, when it's just more superficial, I feel I get a bit anxious in those situations. So I like when people can have deep, caring conversations where we're talking about meaningful issues, meaningful things, and that's when I flourish. There's one good friend that I walk around with on a regular basis, and she and I can have conversations about anything. And we call each other out on our stuff, and to me, that's a true friend, where I can share what's going on, we can challenge each other, but that's living our life. And when I look at the friends I have and this person here, like, we've all gone after our dreams. We're doing what we want to do. We're willing to take chances. We're willing to take a risk and do things differently. So we're not falling into the norm of life and one must do this and one must do that. I hear a lot of people say that the number one priority in life is me making sure my kids have a great life. But yes, and what about you? What about your life? What purpose are you creating? Your kids, when they're 20 or 21, will likely leave the nest and they're out on their own. And still, it's important to be there for your kids and they're doing their own thing, right? I learned that I need to really take care of myself. I have to live with myself 24 hours a day. my kid, my wife's kids out there doing what they want to do. And yeah, we'll always be there for them. However, how I show up now is important. Okay, so that gets to that question, is how do I enjoy expressing myself? And I mentioned some things there. When is a time for you when you felt most joyful? That's the next question. And I feel most joyful when I hang out with my close friends. I laugh a lot. I enjoy myself. Like, we'll play card games, we'll chit chat, we'll joke around. There's one good friend I go hiking with up this thing called the Notch, and he and I can talk about anything. And that's when I'm on fire. That's when I really enjoy myself. Hugging my wife in the morning is when I enjoy myself. That warm embrace, that affection that I have, and the love that we have for each other, and just holding her. And she's not a touchy-feely type of person, but just her warm body against my warm body is my happy place. That's when I get the most of life. When I go have adventures. There's a good friend of mine who lives back east, and when he and I go out exploring, we'll have very deep conversations. We'll have conflict. However, it's real. It's like, that's life. And I love that, because we're exploring, we're seeing the world, we're adventurous, we're doing things. And that's when I'm most joyful. Like, even going out paddleboarding or going mountain biking, when I'm just focused on one thing, that introverted time that I have, even laying down, doing yoga nidra or meditating or doing Wim Hof breathing or going into my cold plunge, things like that really drive me. Now, when you come up with that kind of stuff, you can then go to the next part of this activity, and that is, okay, well, what did I get out of this? If I combine these statements, if I combine these attributes, we can then start writing down some lines and then figuring out, what is my purpose in life? Why do I exist? So every day, if I live this purpose, retirement doesn't matter. Nothing really matters. It's just the here and now that matters. And if I'm making decisions and doing things that align to my purpose, I am living my best life. And wow, that is so important to me. Because I've lived a life with anxiety, with fear, with resentment and anger, where I struggled to fit in. And by doing this work, I am seeing that I am making a huge difference. And I want to continue doing that. At the age of, I'm now 54, I can honestly say I am living my best life right now. And it's in part to my self-awareness work, to me managing my interactions and how I impact others by getting feedback, by doing what I want to do and living that, has created this amazing life. And I'm forever grateful for that. So with all that in mind, here is my purpose. I create loving connection and community by seeing and embracing our own humanism and the same in others. I move people to a more heart-centered and vulnerable approach to create belonging, authenticity, and relationships and love. I help people embrace their best selves, take ownership of their presence and future so they can optimize the life they have now. Folks, live on purpose. Thanks for listening.